The bustling restaurant was alive with laughter and the clinking of cutlery. Chandeliers hung low, casting a warm glow over the elegant wooden tables. The air was rich with the enticing aromas of sizzling garlic, roasted vegetables, and freshly baked bread. It was a Friday night, and patrons filled every corner, adding to the soft hum of chatter that floated around the spacious dining area. At a large round table near the window, a group of 5 friends settled in for what they planned to be an enjoyable evening together. Artwork adorned the walls, featuring local artists and colorful landscapes that brought life to the space. The friends engaged in cheerful banter, their voices rising above the restaurant's ambience as they shared stories from their week. Among them was Jack, the self-proclaimed jokester who loved to be the center of attention, while Mary laughed at his antics with a sparkle in her eye. Peter and Sophie chimed in with their own playful jokes as Sarah looked on, shaking her head but smiling nonetheless. They were bright and youthful, brimming with energy as they looked forward to a night of delicious food and camaraderie. As they perused the menu, an elderly waiter named Mr. Thompson approached their table. With a silver tray in hand and a gentle smile on his face, he exuded a quiet demeanor that seemed both warm and worn from years on the job. His gray hair mirrored his long history, he wore it like a badge of honor. Yet despite his kind eyes and respectful attitude, Jack couldn't resist making light of Mr. Thompson's age. "Hey there! Did you bring your walker tonight?" he quipped loudly enough for others to hear. Laughter erupted around the table while Mr. Thompson simply nodded gently, unfazed by the teasing as he took their drink orders. Unbeknownst to them, behind his humble appearance lay the heart of a hero who once defended his country bravely, a tale yet to unfold amidst their dinner chatter. As the group settled into their seats, Mr. Thompson approached their table with a gentle smile and a glimmer of kindness in his eyes. His worn but warm hands balanced a silver tray filled with drinks, the ice clinking softly as he moved. He had been working at this restaurant for many years, long enough to form bonds with regular customers and know every corner of the dining area like the back of his hand. At first glance, Mr. Thompson appeared tired, the lines on his face telling a story of hard work and dedication. His gray hair was neatly combed back, accentuating the wisdom that came with age. Every step he took seemed deliberate, as if he weighed each movement with careful thought. Yet, the strain in his posture was overshadowed by the warmth radiating from his smile, which could brighten even the darkest day. "Good evening, everyone. What can I get you to drink?" he asked in a voice that was soft yet clear. As he looked at each friend, there was a genuine interest in his gaze that made them feel special. The group began to rattle off their drink choices, soda for Jack, a glass of wine for Mary, and so on, while Mr. Thompson jotted everything down on his notepad with great care. While they spoke, Jack couldn't resist poking fun again. "You're still using that old notepad? Don't you have a fancy gadget yet?" he laughed, sparking chuckles from his friends. But Mr. Thompson just chuckled lightly in return, unfazed by the jibe. His experience taught him to be patient and understanding. After all, laughter often masked deeper emotions. As he moved away from the table to fetch their drinks, he carried with him not only the weight of his years but also an untold story of heroism that patiently awaited its moment in the spotlight. Once Mr. Thompson walked away to fetch their drinks, the atmosphere at the table shifted slightly, and mischievous glints appeared in Jack's eyes. "Did you see how long it took him to write down our orders? I thought he might need a map to find his way back," he joked, prompting a burst of laughter from the group. Mary chimed in with a smirk, "Maybe we should get him one of those golf carts to zip around the restaurant. He could use it." The friends erupted into fits of giggles, completely oblivious to the bright kindness Mr. Thompson had just displayed. Peter leaned back in his chair and said, "Or we should start calling him Mr. Slow-Mo. I mean, how can a waiter be so ancient?" He waved his hand dramatically, eliciting more laughter at Mr. Thompson's expense. Sophie added, "Honestly, if he were any slower, we'd have to order our food from next week. I'm surprised he didn't trip over his own feet." She pretended to stumble as she spoke, prompting even more uproarious laughter from her friends. Sarah watched their antics with a slight frown but couldn't help but chuckle lightly along with them. She felt a twinge of discomfort. After all, Mr. Thompson was just doing his job. But the infectious spirit of her friends made it hard for her to speak up. As they continued to tease Mr. Thompson's age and pace, they remained completely unaware of his untold story, a past filled with moments that required remarkable courage and strength. To them, he was just an old waiter, easy to poke fun at as they enjoyed their evening without realizing the treasure of wisdom sitting so close by. The laughter continued to bounce around the table, drowning out everything else that lingered in the air surrounding their gathering. As Mr. Thompson moved toward the kitchen, the noise of the restaurant faded away, and a hush enveloped him. His mind drifted back to a time long before he donned an apron and served tables. A vivid flashback unfolded, pulling him back to a distant battlefield, where the air was thick with tension. It was many years ago during a critical moment in the nation's history. Young and full of determination, Mr. Thompson, who had once answered to the name Lieutenant Thompson, stood alongside soldiers, each face set with resolve as they prepared for what lay ahead. The sound of tanks rumbling in the distance echoed like thunder. They were outnumbered and facing a daunting task that could change the course of their homeland's future. In the midst of chaos, Thompson displayed remarkable courage. He dashed through gunfire to rescue a wounded comrade who lay helpless on the ground. As bullets whizzed past him, he didn't think twice, he just acted, driven by bravery and camaraderie. The memory surged forth, each moment highlighting the teamwork and courage that defined their mission. "Get down," he shouted at his fellow soldiers, directing them to safety as they pushed forward. His leadership inspired those around him to fight harder and believe in the cause they served. It was a night etched in history, a moment where lives were lost but also saved, upheld by bravery and sacrifice. Now, standing behind a tray of drinks at the restaurant, Mr. Thompson felt an ache deep within him, not from age, but from remembering the weight of those moments. He returned to his task with renewed strength but held close the understanding that heroism can take many forms, often unseen in the life of an old waiter. Unbeknownst to the laughing friends at his table, he carried a legacy far mightier than they could imagine. As Mr. Thompson returned to the table with their drinks, the laughter from Jack and his friends floated around him like a distant melody. He sensed the lightness of their jokes, yet he approached their table with an air of calm and humility. Instead of feeling affronted by their mockery, he simply offered his warm smile, as if he understood something deeper about their playful banter. "Here you go," he said softly as he placed the drinks on the table, careful not to spill anything. "I hope you enjoy them." His voice was steady, carrying a hint of wisdom that seemed to transcend the light-heartedness of the moment. He watched the group with kind eyes, sensing their youthful energy and spontaneity. Though Jack continued to jest about needing a golf cart for Mr. Thompson, the waiter remained unfazed. He gently chuckled along with them, showing that he bore no ill will. "You know," he interjected, "sometimes it's not about how fast you move but how well you serve." His words hung in the air, surprising the friends into a momentary silence. "Life has its own pace," he continued, his tone thoughtful yet playful. "And sometimes, it teaches us patience." With this subtle reminder, Mr. Thompson revealed his understanding of life's fleeting nature and the importance of savoring every moment. He gestured at the vibrant restaurant around them, filled with laughter and connection. The friends exchanged puzzled glances at his unexpected response but returned to their laughter soon after. Yet Mr. Thompson knew that in life's little moments, like this dinner, there was wisdom to be found. While they viewed him simply as an old waiter, he knew such moments were often where true strength and resilience lay hidden, waiting for those who took the time to look beyond surface appearances. Just as the laughter bubbled over and Jack prepared to make another joke, a sudden commotion erupted from the back of the restaurant. A deafening crash followed by a series of panicked cries pierced through the cheerful din, drawing everyone's attention. The sounds came from the kitchen, where a cook had accidentally knocked over several heavy pots while trying to extinguish a small fire that had ignited on the stove. The flames flickered and danced fiercely, sending up hues of orange and smoke that quickly spread through the air like a dark cloud. Panic surged among the diners as some screamed while others dove under tables, unsure of what to do. The jovial atmosphere transformed into chaos in an instant. Mr. Thompson, who had been standing silently at their table, sprang into action without hesitation. His experience from years ago on the battlefield surged back to him, guiding his every move. He didn't think about himself, instead, he focused on what needed to be done. "Everyone, stay calm," he shouted firmly but calmly as he moved toward the kitchen's entrance. The sound of his voice resonated above the clatter of fear. "Follow my lead. We need to get everyone out safely." His commanding presence grounded those around him, and even the panicking friends found themselves drawn to his assured manner. With purpose, he directed frightened patrons toward the nearest exits and encouraged those who had frozen in shock to follow. As Mr. Thompson moved closer to the thickening smoke and flickering flames, he swiftly grabbed a fire extinguisher hanging nearby. With practiced precision, he approached the fire, blocking out everything else around him. This situation required strength and bravery, qualities that he embodied once again. The laughter of earlier faded into a distant memory as he now became the beacon of hope amid the chaos, demonstrating that true heroism can manifest when it is most needed. With the fire growing more intense and smoke billowing through the kitchen, Mr. Thompson took a deep breath, centering himself for the task ahead. He had faced chaos before, and that experience surged back to him like an old friend. As he moved into action, the world around him faded away, narrowing his focus on the immediate crisis. "Okay, everyone. Stay close to me," he called out, his voice steady and authoritative. He glanced back at the frightened faces of diners, his eyes meeting those who were frozen in fear. "Follow my lead. We need to exit calmly and quickly." Without wasting another moment, he positioned himself at the entrance to the kitchen. Recognizing that not everyone would know how to react in such an emergency, he pointed toward the nearest exits with clear gestures while maintaining eye contact to reassure them. His calm demeanor had a magnetic effect. People found themselves instinctively drawn to his confidence. As he reached for the fire extinguisher, he recalled similar moments from his past when lives depended on quick decisions. With practiced hands, he pulled off the safety pin and aimed at the base of the flames. "Here goes nothing," he muttered under his breath as he squeezed the handle. A thick spray of foam burst forth, dousing the fire with vigor. Thompson's heart raced as he maneuvered closer to the flames while keeping an eye on those still inside. "Get low. Move quickly," he shouted over the crackling sounds of fire. He knew from experience that smoke would rise. Getting low could mean safety for others. With every passing second, Mr. Thompson balanced bravery with urgency, embodying a leader who had once led soldiers into battle. The laughter from earlier seemed like a distant memory now replaced by an atmosphere of solidarity as patrons rallied together under Mr. Thompson's steady guidance. In this moment of crisis, he transformed from an unseen hero into a beacon of hope, a man who had once saved lives now saving them again in a different way. As the thick smoke began to clear and the last embers of the fire fizzled out, Jack and his friends emerged from their hiding places, shaken but safe. Their eyes widened in disbelief as they witnessed Mr. Thompson standing tall, a calm figure amid the chaos. The once mocked waiter had transformed into a hero in their eyes, embodying strength and bravery when it mattered most. "Did you see that?" Mary exclaimed, her voice filled with awe as she turned to the others. "He didn't hesitate for a second. He just went in there." Jack, who had been the loudest in jesting about Mr. Thompson's age, now stood speechless. His laughter had vanished, replaced by a dawning realization of the man he had underestimated all evening. "I can't believe he did that," he muttered, looking at his friends with a mix of shock and admiration. Peter shook his head in disbelief, recalling how they had laughed at Mr. Thompson just moments before. "We were making fun of him like he was some old guy just shuffling around," he said, regret washing over his features. "But he's actually amazing." Sophie found herself moved by the sight of Mr. Thompson calmly checking on other diners, reassuring them with gentle words as he ensured everyone was all right. "He really is a hero," she whispered, her heart swelling with pride for the man who had saved them without ever boasting about his past. As they gathered together, they watched Mr. Thompson interact with the shaken patrons, his warmth shining through even in such trying circumstances. In that moment, they realized that true strength often lies beneath the surface, hidden behind humble appearances and quiet demeanors. With newfound respect for him as both a person and a hero, the friends exchanged glances filled with understanding and regret for their earlier behavior. They each silently vowed to make amends not only to Mr. Thompson but also within themselves, recognizing that everyone has a story that deserves to be heard and honored. As the immediate danger from the fire faded, a profound change swept through the restaurant. The atmosphere, once filled with chaos and panic, slowly transformed into one of unity and support. Inspired by Mr. Thompson's bravery, diners who had previously huddled in fear began to rally together, ready to help one another. A woman in a bright red dress, shaken but resolute, stood up and called out, "Is everyone okay? Did anyone need help?" Her voice cut through the lingering smoke, prompting others to rise and assess the situation. Soon, a chorus of affirmations and offers of assistance filled the air as people checked on their neighbors, some helping those who were still rattled and others offering water or comforting words. The restaurant staff joined in too, working swiftly to ensure every patron was accounted for. Another waiter, despite looking visibly shaken himself, began assisting injured diners to their feet. They organized a small group to help evacuate anyone who felt overwhelmed by the experience. The camaraderie was palpable. Strangers became friends in an instant as they shared reassuring glances and supportive gestures. Peter looked around at the scene unfolding before him, a united front against adversity, and felt a swell of pride for their community. "Look at everyone coming together," he remarked quietly to Jack and Mary, who nodded in agreement. Mr. Thompson, still catching his breath from extinguishing the fire, glanced around the room and marveled at the spirit of resilience that had emerged among the patrons. He smiled softly to himself. This was what he had fought for years ago, the strength found in unity. In that moment, laughter returned, not out of mockery but as a symbol of relief and gratitude. People began to share stories of how they had reacted during the crisis, applauding Mr. Thompson's courage and each other's bravery. The fire had ignited not just flames in the kitchen but also an enduring sense of community that would carry them all forward together. As the dust settled and the restaurant buzzed with new energy, Jack and his friends gathered at a corner table, their expressions shifting from shock to reflection. The reality of what had just occurred weighed heavily on them. They had come to realize their earlier behavior toward Mr. Thompson was not only thoughtless but also disrespectful. "I can't believe we made fun of him," Jack said, shaking his head in disbelief. "He's been through so much more than we could ever imagine." His voice carried a tone of regret that resonated with the others. Mary nodded thoughtfully. "I never knew he was a hero. All we saw was an old man serving us drinks. We didn't even think to ask about his life." She glanced over at Mr. Thompson, who was still offering support to other diners, his demeanor calm and composed. "We were so caught up in our jokes that we missed out on the chance to learn from him," Peter added, guilt etched on his face. "He's someone who has seen real danger and handled it with grace." Sophie took a deep breath, her heart heavy with newfound respect for Mr. Thompson. "It makes me think about how important it is to treat everyone with kindness, regardless of their age or appearance. Everyone has their own story, and we should be open to listening." As they reflected on the evening's events, admiration for Mr. Thompson blossomed within them. They recognized that true strength often comes from unexpected places, wrapped in humility and wisdom gained through life experiences. In that moment of collective realization, they resolved to honor Mr. Thompson not just as a waiter but as a hero who had saved lives once before, and now had inspired them to change their perspectives. They vowed to approach others with greater respect and curiosity about their stories, celebrating the richness of human experience that lies beneath the surface. With this newfound understanding, they felt ready to embrace the world beyond laughter and mockery, one built on compassion and appreciation for every individual.